Greetings everyone, I'm Mar. Once again, this is my opinion. As you can tell from the title up there, I'm continuing my trek through the episodes of Everybody Loves Raymond, one episode and one season at a time. Still in the beginning of season 8, this is episode 7, Liars. And this is yet another one that I did see when it first came out, and it is still one of my favorites of the entire season, along with an episode, 2 episodes from now. This is another Tucker Carlson one. It's like if we had a nickel for every time I said that name throughout this whole review series, we'd have a lot of nickels. Now, this episode has a very simple concept, and like other episodes that I mentioned early on, this is an episode that could have been written at any point in the show's run. It just happened to be written this late into it. And I have to say, it might have been a little bit of a stronger episode if it was written earlier on, but that doesn't take away from the writing and the humor. It's just like there's a couple things I gotta mention that, like, okay, this far into the run, that sort of starts to get a little annoying. And that's mainly with some of Marie's little snide comments, even though this far into the show it's like, yeah, we know what she's about. Now, the title and the genesis of the episode is that Marie plans an evening with Raymond, invites him over. They're going to watch something on ESPN. She made a special meal for him. But Ray decides, like, yeah, I don't want to spend the evening with my mother. So he just doesn't go. Next morning, first thing, he's in the kitchen. She comes in and is talking to him about it. Like, oh, I thought we were going to come and spend an evening, blah, blah, blah. And not wanting to hurt her feelings, because we've seen time and again how sensitive Marie can be. He tells a lie, says he had a big headache, and he went right to bed when he got home. We, the audience, can tell right away that Ray's lying. Why Marie can't tell, who knows. But it seems to be one of those little soft spots she has for Ray, to where she cannot fathom her poor Raymond lying. Ooh. Even though we've seen time and again that he can do that, such as the party episode. Even though Marie did kind of blow things out of proportion in that episode. You had a party in my house? But now, as the episode goes along, as the title kind of hints, they keep having to add layer upon layer upon layer to this original lie, and the chickens come home to roost, to use an old phrase. And we get that right in this first scene, whereas immediately after Ray tells a lie about why he didn't go there, he has to come up with a quick lie to cover that lie, because Deborah comes in and then Marie has to jump to, oh, are you taking care of Ray the whole night? Because you look terrible. And it just keeps going from, oh yeah, he went right to bed. Oh, it was right there. To later on, when it cuts to the next scene, having to come up with a lie to cover the fact that he did not go to bed and he watched the game, which I do love how quickly the show Marie can pick up on this stuff, which is a nice little bit of foreshadowing for the climax, is because she picks up right on the fact, like, wait a minute. If Ray went to bed as soon as he got home, thus he couldn't spend the evening with me, how the heck did he watch the game and see the commercial that his father just referenced? And then she keeps going from, in order to cover that lie, oh, it was a tape of the game, and then when Frank wants to watch the commercial again, you have to skip to the kid's friend breaking the VCR, taking the kids upstairs, and then when she tries to fix the VCR, go fix the washing machine that's acting up again. Layer upon layer. And then gets more complicated when they tell the kids one of the lies and tell them that they're pulling a prank on them but keep it to themselves. And one of the twins partially slips this to Robert. And of course, Robert, being Robert, always wanting to get something over on his brother, he mentions it in passing when the parents are there and they're like, you're pulling a prank on us? Like, no, no, no. And then they have to come up with something quickly, and they decide to go, instead of going to dinner and a movie like they said they were, they went to a hotel. And of course, with this whole thing, you could tell that they're doing this lie in order to weird everybody out, which it works. Like, the look on Brad Garrett's face during this whole thing really sells it. And then, of course, the look on Doris Roberts and Peter Boyle's faces also sells it. And of course, one of my favorite little Frank moments here, or after they hear everything, where he's like, oh, nice for you. And then she looks over at Frank and he's like, don't get any ideas, Marie. Oh, yeah. even though they're home alone, so they don't really need to go out to a motel like that. But I guess she's thinking more of the romantic gesture part of it, because as we've seen time again, Frank is not the one to do the most romantic gestures, which is why that moment in the Man of the Year episode where he wipes the stuff off her face and then is like, I like you better without the crap on your face, is such a romantic gesture for her, because he's not the most like that. Now, as you kind of guess, eventually, like I used the phrase, the chickens are going to come home to roost with this whole thing. And they do, near the very end, where the lies keep racking on top of each other, and they slowly come undone. And Marie's the one who is unraveling everything. And to go with this whole thing, as a quick thing, is how Robert's watching us as a cop. He's like, oh yeah, this is good. This is good. He's picking up a scent. I'm usually behind two-way glass for this sort of thing. I'm just enjoying it. And she's unraveling everything, backtracking through the lies about why each lie was made and why they don't make sense, until she gets to the final one, which is why, because you didn't have a headache. You lied to me. Now, Deborah, of course, at first tries to cover it up like you're wrong, but Ray just immediately succumbs. And this is a fun little moment here where Ray's like, how'd you do that? And she's like, I got put things together. You think I was born yesterday? And without missing a beat, Frank jumps in. Anyone? It's moments like that where you can see that even though he doesn't have the same energy levels he did in the earlier seasons, that when he has a good line, with the delivery he can still do, Peter Boyle can still get out a classic one-liner. And with that, he can. It's not as classic as some of his other ones, but in the moment and for the plot of the episode, it works. And it just shows that even in moments like this, Frank is not going to lose an opportunity to poke fun at his family. Now, as to be expected, Marie takes extreme umbrage with everything and blows it way out of proportion. Like when Ray's like, it was just a tiny lie, and she's like, when you lie right to my face, you consider that a tiny little lie? Yeah, Marie, he's an adult. And the fact if he had told you the truth, you would have blown it out of proportion, just like you're blowing this out of proportion. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And the fact that she has the gall to say to that little lie is the one that hurts the most. It's like, really, Marie? Out of everything you put your family through throughout the whole time you've been in their lives, whether it's only a short period of time comparatively when it comes to Amy and Deborah, or their entire lives when it comes to the boys, or just the whole time that you've been dating and married when it comes to Frank, you're really going to pull that card and be like, oh, I'm hurting. Like, no, Marie, no. You have no right to be that upset when it comes to that, when you always guilt trip them the way that you do there. No. And of course, to add to this, we find out that Marie is not so innocent herself in this episode, because she was not inviting Ray over there just to watch the ESPN special and discuss it. She was calling Ray over there to complain about Frank and Deborah, various degrees. Which, of course, why, we don't know. It's not mentioned in the episode. But given what we know about those two characters and their relationship with Marie, we can just fill in the dots pretty well. It's probably just, when it comes to Frank, just general complaints about him being a pig, cheap, disrespectful. And with Deborah, it's the usual mill complaining about daughter-in-law stuff we've seen her do for 8 seasons at this point. And some of it gets old, like some of her little snide comments. And that's the part where this episode does feel like it's a few seasons too late in production. Because it's like, really? And that's definitely the part that is aged a little bit for me, because having watched this when it first came out, I was not as steeped in the entire lore of the show as I am now. I had not watched a lot of the episodes, just like the handful that I had seen in syndication, out of order, so I didn't know like the order of events. Then, of course, haven't gone back and watched through every episode at least once, especially doing it for this rewatch review series. Watching it now, it's like, yeah, it does not age that well. It's one of those things that, like, yeah. Of course, you tune that part out and enjoy the episode for what it is. It's there, but for a critique standpoint, it's something you gotta mention. And, of course, it just shows, once again, that Marie is a hypocrite. and they really take her to task for it. And of course she tries to weasel her way out of it and pulls the old lady card, like, I can't believe you're all ganging up on an elderly woman. And then she leaves. And the point, I love how they point out the fact that she's just playing with them, where they're looking out the window and Deborah's like, you know, for an old woman, she could sure run fast. And it's like, I'm happy that they actually had Marie get a little bit of a comeuppance at the end of the episode like that, because if she had actually had the last point and ended like that, it would have been like, oh, no. I mean, there's some episodes where that works, like the letter one, it works because it ties into Marie's whole arc of being an overbearing and critical mother-in-law, even though with that episode she probably should not have done that, but it's to show that even when it looks like they take a step forward, they take another step back. And nobody can get too far like that. Well, and that is Liar. There's not really much else to talk about with this episode. Just the overarching whole plot of lying, lies being found out, the family humor and dynamic that we've seen develop for 8 seasons at this point. It's really what makes the episode work. I mean, there's that one aspect that, yeah, probably should have been made earlier. But then with that, you wouldn't have the Robert and Amy centric pieces of dialogue involving the chicken cacciatore and the kung pao chicken. I'm not going to delve too far into that, but that is partially what unravels Marie's lie. And I love that Frank is the one that does it, so that's a nice little moment there. And I should say something also involves post-it notes, which is a little hilarious that Marie still uses. Leave it to someone like Marie to still use post-it notes. Not really much else to say about this episode, and as you can tell, I do enjoy it, even with that one little thing. Definitely, if you're just gonna watch the best of Season 8 just to get a Cliff Note feel for the season, this is definitely one to watch. And if you're trying to just go through the seasons randomly and show people random episodes, this is another one. Of course, definitely not show them in random order, because then they'd be like, huh? Well, that's all to say here. Now, we're going to move to an episode that I remember hearing about when it was first run, but I didn't see until I got the DVD. And of course, it involves a birthday party, and why, whenever you do a surprise party, even if the person finds out there is going to be one, you politely tell them, stay in their lane, and stay out of it, or else everything is going to unravel, and that is the surprise party. English Garden. Till then, everybody.